Welcome to Washington East to West Sports. This is episode 39. I am Matt Beatty, joined alongside, as usual, by Sean Beatty and Kevin Ardall. If you want to get involved in the show, go ahead and tweet at us. I am at Beatty _ Matt. Sean is at Sean _ Beatty. Kev is at Kev's Believes the First Thing Believes Me at 3. Subscribe to us on YouTube. Leave us a comment. Follow our page on the Eline Network. Gentlemen, just a couple things I want to talk about before we get into some bigger stuff on the show. I don't know if you guys are golf fans, but I was really not paying attention to much sports this weekend as I was on my 1 year anniversary trip with my girlfriend. So really didn't catch much sports action, but I did see a little bit of Phil Mickelson winning the PGA Championship, the oldest player ever to do so. I remember in 2004 when he won his first Masters. So, 17 years later, Phil getting that PGA Championship, just like Tiger a couple of years ago, earning the Masters after quite a rocky career there in the 2010s. So,
I have a quick question for you.
Go ahead.
I saw this debate on Twitter. Well, very quick answer. Just a really quick. Yes, sir. One person or the other. What was more impressive, him winning at 50 or Tom Brady winning at Super Bowl at 42?
Him winning at 50.
That's tough. It's tough, though.
It is.
I say 50 because he did it himself. Tom Brady had a lot of guys around him, I think, kind of helped him lead to a championship.
Quarterback play is very big, though.
I will lean towards Matthew for one reason that Matthew didn't say, was Phil had to do it for 4 days. Like, he had to be the best golfer on the planet for 4 days at 50 by himself. Like, there was nobody helping him, by himself.
Yeah, I probably would lean that way
close.
too. To me, it's super tough just because
it is.
Like
just
I said, quarterback play is so important.
You picking Tom Brady?
I mean,
just say yes or no. Just pick one. Yeah, boom.
There's no wrong
answer. There's no wrong answer.
I'll say Mickelson too, just because we also know that the lack of O-line for Patrick Mahomes and that D-line kind of helped out a lot. But I mean, it's not like Tom Brady didn't help. So I'll say more Phil.
Okay. I just saw that Twitter. Yeah, it was close. It made me think. So I was like, okay.
Yeah, that's a valid debate. Let's jump into a little bit of Sounders. So the Sounders tied Atlanta United at home 1-1 yesterday. So the Sounders are still undefeated. The top team in MLS right now, 5 wins, 2 draws, and they play on Sunday again against Austin FC at Lumen Field. So, please support the Sounders. Like, they are playing well, and if you got a chance, please turn on that TV. Usually they're on like FS1, or if you somehow get Joe TV, maybe turn them on there too. So support the Sounders because they are playing well, scoring goals, and they don't lose games. So that's really nice to see, because we're about to transition into the Seattle Mariners. And gentlemen, oh my goodness, what a week it was for the Seattle Mariners. And when I say what a week it was, I don't mean good here. So let's recap the week that was. So Detroit, 3-game series. They did not win any of those games. They lost 4-1 on Monday. They lost 5-0 on Tuesday in a no-hitter. And then they lost 6-2 on Wednesday to the Tigers. Then on Friday, they went to San Diego. They lost 16-1. I saw that notification pop up on my phone because I have Mariners notifications on my phone. And I was like, whoa, that's interesting. So then on Saturday, 6-4 loss to the Padres, and then a sweep 9-2 yesterday. They are currently playing the Oakland A's. You guys got to score. I know you got to score. It's 4-1.
4-1.
4-1 Mariners.
Kelnick hit a bomb, and so is Kyle Lewis.
Kelnick hit a bomb. I saw that on Twitter. So hopefully they'll break out of this losing streak they got going here. But I just want to get your guys' thoughts on the week that was for the Mariners. So, Sean, I'm going to start with you. I mean, what'd you kind of think of the Mariners this past week?
We'll talk about the other stuff here in a second, but they're not playing good. You just cannot get swept by Detroit. You can get swept by San Diego all day, every day, because let's just face it, they're super good.
They're good.
So, but you can't get swept by Detroit if you want to be sort of a contender, which unfortunately Mariners, as you're saying, that's why I predicted them to win 71 games. They're not contenders. What I think was like what Mariners fans need to do in general, though, right now is calm down and relax, because this year's been weird because they start off so well. They were like, boom, going up this way. Then they went straight down again. But at the end of the day, this is exactly where I basically thought they would be. Like right around this level, winning percentage. It just looks really bad, like how they got here recently. But they regressed really quickly, basically is what happened. if you told me at this point in the season they'd be like, what, 4 games below 500, I'd be like, oh, take it all day. It just looks terrible how they got here recently, because getting 16-1 blown out and getting swept by the Tigers looks really bad. Yeah, it is. But again, this is where they should be. Let's all calm down. It's a long season. The Mariners could hopefully play about this level the rest of the way. We'll see how they do. They're not going to lose all the rest of their games, not fire everybody, not cut everybody, not Kelnick sucks, like all this stuff. Well, we're fine. Just calm down. We're 40 games in this season. Let's settle down.
Kevin?
Fire everybody. No, I'm kidding.
just everybody.
Everybody just fired, just because we're, just a little bit under 500 in May. Now the Detroit thing, that was embarrassing, and they should be slapped. Everybody that was on that lineup should be slapped in the face. Like, that's just, you can't do that. Like, seriously. I know at the same time too, Detroit is getting paid money to play. Like, if they're going to give it their best, we should on paper beat them. It's just kind of like one of those things, hats off to Detroit, I guess.
They in turn got swept by the team they just played too. So Detroit wasn't running hot.
And honestly, the thing from that series, like the positive that I want to kind of highlight from that series was Justin Dunn, man. Like, holy crap. Like, career high, what was it, 9 or 11 Ks somewhere?
Why take him out though? Like, I thought.
Yeah, I don't know why.
He threw 70-something pitches. Like,
yeah, I don't know.
Let him go.
Justin Dunn this whole season so far actually has been very impressive for, like, he's pretty much your number 6. Like, I'll take, yeah, like,
is he anymore though? Like,
I know, like, honestly, he's kind of like your number 3
right
now, to be honest. Especially after how Flexen got shelled this past weekend. What, 10 earned runs was it on him?
I mean, one, to be fair, Dunn played to Detroit and Flexen played San Diego. Like,
yes, I will say that.
But yeah, it's not.
It's I was kind of bummed to see that Kikuchi got pushed back. I was, especially because I wanted him in fantasy.
He dominated today.
He played today, yeah. But I wanted to need that 2-week thing. Come on now. Got perfect week last week. Yeah. Anywho, the Padres, I mean, it's like when the Dodgers kick the crap out of us. It's going to happen. They're a really good baseball team. Like, if we get a win, that's a super positive. The fact that we got 16-1, yeah, just shows the Padres are really good at baseball. Also, we've had some injuries, what's his face? It's like Dylan Moore got hurt. And then the stuff we're going to get to in a little bit as well. But just to know that, other regular injuries like Dylan Moore is kind of, we're kind of scraping the barrel. I don't know why certain moves that we brought up, I was kind of like, but we'll see. But overall, yeah, Mariners fans just need to calm down. And honestly, this is how we started in 2019 too. Like, we literally were like, we had the best record for like the first 2.5 weeks in baseball, and then we just plummeted into like the 9th circle of hell. Yeah. It was horrible.
I mean, again, the plummet is rough to watch, but like, it's regressing to the mean. Like, let's calm down.
Exactly.
I would like to react, having not really seen a whole lot of the Mariners this last week. I mean, it's Mariners. Like, we all expected this. Like, it shouldn't be surprising when it happens. Now, obviously, Sean mentioned the way it has happened is, kind of shocking, especially with the sweeps and the 16-1 and the no-hitter. So the last week has not been good. So, it's not to say like the sky is falling or anything, but this is the Mariners. Like, this is, we all predicted they wouldn't be very good this year. I mean, 70 wins is not terrible, but it's not good. It's not a playoff team. And, Mariners fans should not be surprised by this, especially with the history of this team. So it's like, yeah, obviously it's not good to see your team lose 6 in a row and drop under 500. But at the same time, like, as a Mariners fan, you should be used to this by now.
I don't think the history has anything. I just think...
No, I'm not saying. No, what I'm saying is, like, how can you be surprised when this happens regularly for the Mariners? Like,
it's not even that. Well, I mean, like, it happens regularly, but like, you look at the team on paper and you're like, yeah, this team should be 5 games below 500, and they're 5 games below 500. It just looks bad how they got there. Like, nothing on paper is different than it should be.
Yeah, that's why there's no need to hit the panic button. Like, we all thought this team would be, under 500, not really competing this year. So the fact that Mariners fans on Twitter are hitting the panic button, it's like it's an overreaction. It's just like watch the team, hope they do well, and we know the expectations. So don't freak out if they lose games because they're going to lose games. They're probably going to lose more games than they win this year.
Probably.
So that's why it's just kind of a Twitter, whatever. They can overreact as much as they want, but that's Twitter. So let's move on to the no-hitter portion that we wanted to talk about. So I did tweet at Sean a little bit about this because the Mariners are up there with two other teams with having been no-hit twice, which is the Texas Rangers and the Cleveland baseball team. So, obviously, I saw Sean's tweet and
you got to explain it.
So, Sean, what did you say? I forgot what you actually tweeted.
It was something about like
you had bad spelling, which was bad, but turns out that throwing no hitters is more common in today's baseball. Who would have thought? Settle down, Mariners fans. So I agree with the settle down Mariners fans. Like, they just had a bad game, and it's happened twice this season. I find it hard for anyone to defend being no hit twice in a season, and I know two other teams have done it, but that doesn't make it defensible. Like it's the problem is, and you especially mentioned it, like being swept by the Tigers is a bigger issue, and I absolutely agree. But it's still indefensible to be no hit twice in a season, and it's May. And I understand baseball is going in a different direction with a lot of, analytics and pitchers are very, very good in today's baseball. Not to say that hitters are like bad, but pitching in today's baseball is, I think, as we all know, is going to win you baseball games. So it's not like totally surprising that more of these are occurring. And the guy, what was it? Turnbull is his name, right? Who no hit them again? Yeah. So, a guy who really has no business having a no hitter. That is obviously a concern too. It's like, John Means, very good pitcher for the Orioles, although granted on the Orioles, but this guy should not be throwing no hitters. So obviously you've seen in baseball this year a lot of guys throwing no hitters that you wouldn't expect to throw no hitters, and that's kind of how the game's going. But at the same time, I find it very difficult for anyone to defend a team being no hit twice this early in the season. So I'm gonna let Sean take the floor for what I just said there.
Well, okay, so what I'm going to say is with this year, so let's put it in perspective. This year, we're on pace for 21 no-hitters, which is three times the all-time record. So yes, no-hitters don't mean what they used to mean. When you got no-hit, it was a big deal. Now it's not. I'm not saying it's not a big deal, but it's not as big of a deal because, like Matthew said, pitchers have taken that step. That baseball has been doctored now that it is harder to get hits. Yes, the Mariners, everyone focused, the Mariners have the lowest batting average. And if the season ends, they'd have the lowest batting average of all time. 4 other teams would break that record with them. Like, they're not the only team having this issue. This is a baseball issue. So you're just arbitrarily putting it like the Mariners are having this issue. And it's a Mariner thing. It's yes, the Mariners are bad at hitting. Yes, the Tigers, you shouldn't have been no hit twice. But like, again, no hitters take luck. Let's put it up here. It's called game score. It's how you grade a pitcher's at bats. The best pitching game this year was John Means against the Mariners. The second best pitching game was not a no hitter this year, like by game score. Like getting no hit involves luck too. Like you could hit a super hard baseball and it goes right to somebody, and game score tries to like get rid of all of that stuff. So like, yeah, the second best game thrown this year wasn't even a no-hitter. DeGrom pitched better than 6 other guys who threw no-hitters, and he didn't get a no. He gave up 2 hits in the game. But like a no-hitter is just arbitrary. Who cares about the individual hit? DeGrom gave up 2 hits and was had the second best game all season. So like we're just focusing on the term no-hitter. It's like when someone hits for the cycle in baseball. Yes, it's cool, but the guy who hit 3 home runs had a better game. Like you're arbitrarily putting like, that guy had the cycle, he had a good game. No, the guy who hit 3 home runs had a better game. So, like, I don't care about the term no-hitter. I care about being swept by the Tigers. Like, I do not care how they lost. The fact is they lost. Like, I don't care. Because, again, a no-hitter involves a lot of luck. You need a lot of luck to throw a no-hitter.
Kevin, any weigh in?
Yeah, I kind of agree with Sean there. you have guys like, especially from like old baseball to the older baseball to newer baseball, you have more athletic pitchers whose just average velocity is way higher than what it used to be. Like you're looking between like 93 and 97 on average for a lot of pitchers. Also, um, even though it's been around since 2006, also the shift has a huge impact on that. Like hitting through certain shifts is super difficult. Like there was even a discussion I saw online lately about whether or not to bring up the like, should we keep the shift or
That's
not,
a good point, Kevin. Yeah,
or go back to what baseball used to be, type of deal. To where you literally just have a rule where you have to have two guys on both sides of second base. You cannot have, but then people are like, well, then does one person just like hug the base pad kind of type of deal, and they kind of just cheat?
Yeah.
Like it was kind of interesting to see, but the shift does have a huge effect on pitching as well. Like honestly, if you're left and they have the shift set up for you on the right hand side, like it's I mean, yes, guys should be taught how to hit the other way with the ball. It should be a thing, but
the guys are so good now. How you're just lucky to make contact.
Exactly. Like people, like fans don't realize how hard being consistently good at baseball is. Like having a batting average above 200 against these guys that can have, like I said, average velocity 93 to 97 while they're throwing. And these are cutters, sliders, everything. Like I'm not just talking about a heater down the middle. Like there's other stuff in there too, and be able to hit that and time it and do that consistently day-to-day basis is tough as hell. But fans are just like, well, they do it, type of deal. Plus you have a shift against you to where like the place where you're normally going to hit it, like they're just set up to catch it. You have to try to hit it a certain way to make it go the other way to where it goes against the shift. There's a lot of stuff involved in just like fans just need to calm that down. Like, yes, it's very much easier for like it's just against the batters pretty much, unless you have like a thing on your arm that just tells you what pitch is cutting.
They've talked about, like you said, Kevin, they talked about pushing the mound back to make it easier for hitters. They're trying to find a way for hitters to hit, because it's not a mirror issue. I mean, it is their issue, but it's a baseball issue. People just aren't hitting like they used to.
Yeah.
Like I understand your point, Sean. It's just I understand like they would set the worst batting average along with 4 other teams. I just don't want to be included with those other teams. That's the thing. Like that's the problem. Like we are in the bottom of the barrel in terms of batting average, and I don't want to be.
All-time worst year. I get
it. Yeah, like that is my biggest issue with it, is the fact that we are included in that list. And I understand hitting a baseball is very difficult. There's a lot of different pitches. There's a lot of speed. There's a lot of timing. But we have guys who we expect to hit. Lewis, Kelnick, Seager, Haniger, and none of them got a hit. So I understand, no hitters are becoming a more common thing, but at the same time, no one got a hit. No one.
Yeah.
So, but like, I mean, my issue is I expect Kyle Seager and Mitch Haniger to hit. I don't trust anybody else. And so when they both went 0 for 6, I'm like, well, it could get no hit. Like right now, like, because Kelnick wasn't playing well, Kyle Lewis was struggling. Like I was just like, yeah, there's no Ty France. I was like, yeah, they could easily get no hit. Like that bottom of that lineup, those bottom 3 people, that they're getting pretty. You're getting your 4th catcher there so far in the season already. Yeah, that's not gonna rely on a whole lot. Like
I'm gonna bring up a quirky reference here that you guys are gonna hate. But as you can see, I'm wearing bowling stuff. Bowlers, like pro bowlers, bowl 300s, not often on TV, but like in tournaments and stuff like that. But you still have average players that can throw a 300 game. Like these pitchers it's their day. Every dog has their day type of deal. They are professional pitchers. Like they're up there for a reason. Well, most of them, I'll say, not all of them. And honestly, sometimes like maybe Turnbull was just on his stuff that day. Like it's chess kind of, to where like he threw the perfect pitches at the right time type of deal, and we just couldn't hit his stuff. Like it happens. It's literally that's the beauty of baseball sometimes. Or like a guy who's not a Verlander kind of name can come up and have a game like that. So I think it makes baseball more exciting that you can have these pitchers that are not household names, throw games like this. So,
I mean, I personally like watching pitchers pitch, but yeah, I get
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
And, I've covered baseball, and it does feel like the game is moving to this model of, hit it far or get out of the batter's box, which is kind of a ridiculous model. I mean, there are I do like the small ball game of hitting doubles and getting guys on base and walking and generating runs that way, but it seems like the game is going more towards power or figure out how to get power. So
The analytics.
yeah, so it's kind of weird that way, but yeah, hopefully the Mariners don't set the record for most no-hitters in a season. Hopefully Rangers will take that, but who knows? Well, it's still May, so we'll see how it goes. But let's get into a prospect update. Sean, Kevin, do you guys have anything to update us on the Mariners prospects?
Let me share my screen.
Okay. Let me allow the screen
I don't want to
sharing.
go too much into details because it's the same guys we talk about every week.
Okay, go ahead.
But oh shoot, hold on, I'm gonna pull it up right here. There we go, right there. Again, Baseball America, 2 Mariners on the Baseball America top 5 in all of baseball. So those are the guys. I don't know what Trammell did once he got sent down, but the dude just doesn't get out anymore. So, and then Julio Rodriguez is just killing it still. I just want to touch on those 2 because we could talk about all the little guys, or not little guys, but all the other guys all day. But I think those 2 are. This article speaks for itself. They are killing it in all of baseball. So I don't know what you do with Taylor Trammell. Right now, they're playing Ty France at first, which is disgusting. But if you're gonna call him up and you got to get those 3 guys out there at bats and him, Mitch Haniger, you're gonna DH, I guess, or Mitch Haniger better learn how to play first, one or the other. So, yeah, I think Trammell needs to be called back up, I guess.
Well, let me ask you this, because you mentioned Trammell, and he's tearing it up in Tacoma, but when he was with the Mariners, he didn't really perform that well. So I want to ask you guys what you think of how much of a mental game is baseball, especially as a hitter, because Taylor did not perform very well in the Seattle Mariners uniform, and he has gone down to Tacoma and he's playing great. Now, obviously, the pitchers in the AAA system are not as good as the pitchers in the Major League system. So, I mean, if they bring up Trammell again and he's just not good, like, what does that mean anything to you just in the short term? Or do you have to see a couple more seasons to be like, maybe he's just a AAA guy and that's it? Sean, Kevin, what do you think?
I'll let Kevin go first.
I would say no, just because as I've mentioned in previous podcasts, some guys just take more time to develop. I personally don't want to see Taylor Trammell brought up quite yet. I know now I'm going to breathe off this stat as well, just because it's fucking disgusting. In the 10 games he's done, his hitting is pretty much 512, 511, 977, and 1.487. 22 hits.
1.87. Jesus.
5 home runs, 7 runs, 16 RBIs, 2 walks, 10 strikeouts, 2 SF, and then a stolen base as well. Yeah.
Those 10 strikeouts are a little scary, but yeah.
Yeah, that's true. But I mean, more patience at the plate and stuff like that. But I mean, the fact that the rest of it is just,
dirty.
Yeah, it's dirty. I want to see that at a more consistent rate. It's 10 games. Like, I mean, I want to, and that's what the AAA is for. Like, there's no real reason to rush him up, like, type of deal. Like, yeah, guys are hurt right now. Do I really want to see Mitch Haniger play first? Not really. But I mean, if Ty France comes back,
Ty France playing today. He's playing first.
Oh, is he? Oh, shoot. If he's then maybe I don't know. But like, there's not really. If they bring him up, cool. And then if he's still hitting 210 at the major league levels, I'm not really concerned. Like, sometimes some guys just need time to groom, and like AAA kind of helps do that for a full season or two. Sometimes you need it. So I mean, now if we're going like first, second week of June and he's still doing those numbers, yeah, you probably might want to call him up. Just because, I mean,
he's earned it at that point. Sean?
I still think it's a small sample size, so it's kind of weird.
Yeah, it's a small sample size. I probably agree with Kevin. You give him like another week, maybe 2 weeks, and if he's not going to continue that pace, because if he continues that,
That's naughty.
you just need, if he keeps consistently making solid contact and hitting at least at a consistent rate, because he's never going to have like a 2 OPS or like that's just nutty at any level. But just like the numbers will come down, but if he keeps doing something close to it, I think at a certain point you got to call him up. And I don't think you wait 2 years, Matthew, because like I said, you're in an outfield position crunch. Like you got a lot of guys for only 3 positions. So you need to, I think this year is the year you have the flexibility with Mitch Haniger, like you said, to play DH if you want Ty France to play first, which right now, I guess if Evan White comes back, you play Ty France at second, which is also not good. But sorry, we'll get to Kevin. But
yeah, no, go ahead.
You have to see who Trammell is kind of this year a little bit, because he's not super young, and if another team wants him or something's going to happen, you need to know who he is sooner rather than later. It's kind of like the NFL the quarterback. You got to know who he is, because if he's good enough to hit the AAA stuff, and you've just got to get him major league at bats.
So
yeah, sorry, go ahead, Kim.
Oh, just a quick note here too, because I did see a funny tweet yesterday. So yesterday, Luis Torrens hit a grand slam.
Yeah.
And guys, like apparently every dude we send down just becomes Barry Bonds.
Yeah.
Marmolejos today went 2 for 3 with a home run as well. Like, I don't know if it's just like the thing, like we send down to Tacoma and everybody goes ham. Like,
yeah, I would agree with both of you. Like, let's let him play in Tacoma for a little bit, but it's kind of like in a company. Like, if a guy is performing very well, how can you not bring him up? But at the same time, he didn't perform when he was up there. So,
24, like 30 games, maybe 30 games is like nothing.
Yeah, that was also it's also another small sample size.
Yeah. And also, major league pitchers are better. So maybe he, saw a lot of good pitching. He's come down and his pitching's not as good, so he's capitalizing on it. So, it's interesting to see that. But let's move on to a topic that Sean tweeted about earlier today that is some stuff that we could talk about. So this is 2 good in 17. Mark, apparently he's a reporter for the Washington Examiner on Mets baseball. He tweeted, per source, the Mets are kicking the tires on Mariners third baseman Kyle Seager. He's in the last year of his contract with Seattle, hitting .234 with 9 home runs and 30 RBIs. So first of all, I'd like to say kicking the tires, that is the worst. Please don't use that ever again. That is an awful, awful term. But second of all, I would just like to talk what you guys think of this possibility. So yes, last year deal for Kyle Seager, playing not bad, not great, but not bad. And if there's interest out there, Mariners, I can see them easily pulling the trigger. Same with Mitch. But what do you guys think of this? And if they did trade Kyle Seager to the Mets, what would you want back? So Sean and I were talking about this a little bit before the show. I don't know what the Mariners would want from the Mets to make this trade worth it, because I don't see them trading anything other than prospects. And you guys have already mentioned there's plenty of prospects in the Mariners pipeline that, another prospect, like you guys always mention the crowded outfield, like how many prospects, do we need to put together a winning team? So, I don't mind trading Kyle Seager in the last year of his deal, but I personally would like to get a major league player in return, not a prospect. Sean or Kevin, what do you think?
Yeah, I honestly if we could get one of their starting pitchers like Carrasco or
DeGrom straight up 1 for 1. No, never.
I think Carrasco wouldn't be far out. Like there'd probably have to be other stuff involved too, especially since he's injured at the moment. But I would take Carlos Carrasco. We get Edwin Diaz back. That'd be hilarious. It's weird too, because like their top prospect in the moment is a catcher. So with Kyle Rowley being in there, he's a higher rated prospect than Kyle Raleigh. So I don't know. It'd be weird. Like I kind of would want more of a veteran presence. So maybe you trade Seager and somewhat of a prospect. I don't know who you would do for Carrasco. Or I mean, if you want to throw in a big boy prospect like to get DeGrom, I'd be down. Heck, send both Seager and Lewis over to get DeGrom. That's the case,
look, there's no way they're trading DeGrom. Like, let's just take that off the table right now. It's not happening.
Like Cal Raleigh,
it's not happening.
Like,
yeah, not happening.
Yeah, they're not moving. They're not moving him.
Oh, nobody thought they'd move Kelnick, but
well, there's a difference between like a guy who could be great and like the best pitcher
in baseball,
and probably like he's looking at like top 10 all time. That dude is stupid. Like,
Sean, what are your thoughts on this?
So let's get Robinson Cano. No, I think pitching wise, yeah, but you say, Matthew, we have a loaded minor leagues, but we have no other than one guy really infielders in the minors is the problem. And the Mets have a 21-year-old third baseman, number like a top 120 prospect in all baseball, Mark Vientos. He's their fourth ranked prospect in their system, and he's a top like 130 guy. So
Mauricio too.
I would say something like, because we're giving up a third baseman, we'll probably need one in return. Him and maybe like some other lower guy or something like that, another infielder that you take kind of a flyer on. But I don't really like their number 2 prospect is Ronnie Machado. He's a
Mauricio,
but he's like 20, so it's just like that's too long to wait, kind of thing. Or at least I personally think it's too long to wait. I want a guy who's closer. The other guy's in Double A, so we're talking like if you needed, you could probably call him up in a year, like start of next year. So, and that's what I want. I want someone you can play next year. And
well, plus didn't Marte play third for a little bit down on the R? I know he's a shortstop, but like
but he's projected at short. He's a shortstop projected to go to third because he's gonna get too big. But if we force him to continue to play shortstop, that's fine. Like if he's just like 6'4" running out there at shortstop, I'm okay with it because he's up there for his bat anyways. So, we just need a guy on the infield, and so something like that, like major league prospect wise, like. I don't really want any because they're kind of old. Like all the Mets guys that I like are kind of old and their contracts are running out. Like I like Carrasco, like Kevin's thing, but he's been nicked up for 2 years and he had leukemia 2 years ago. So like that's my only like Carrasco issue is like, yeah, him that I want a bat and I want a infielder. And their current guys that they have on their roster that are ready now, I don't like it because it's the Mets. So I would go there.
How old is Neil Walker right now?
Who?
Neil Walker, their second baseman.
Oh, I think he's like. They're not trading like a guy like that because they're first place in their division.
Do you ask for Lindor?
Oh no. God, no. Jeff McNeil, you mean? Like they're that guy?
It's possible.
But Jeff McNeil's old. Like Jeff McNeil's.
That's what to say. He's probably up there though.
He's 29.
Also, I'm on ESPN and says McNeil likely out till late June. So
yeah, but again, we're doing this for the future. So I want a guy who's basically like that AAA guy who's like almost ready. He'll be ready like next year. And this guy, AA, 21.
Like what Haniger was when we got it.
Yeah, basically ready. So in a year, because again, we're not doing it for this year. This year, I don't want an old guy. I want a guy in the next year with team control. I want a guy next year. And that guy will probably be a call up in the middle of next year. And
so DeGrom.
Yeah, and their Mets are trying to win right now. So they'll get the guy that win right now. We get a guy for the team control at third base. So that's what I'd want.
All right. Well, let us know what you think of all this about the Mariners' recent week being no hit by the Tigers prospects, Kyle Seager trade rumors. Tweet us. I'm at Bader_Matt. Sean's at Sean_Betty. Kev's at Kev's Lead First and believes me at 3. Subscribe to us on YouTube. Leave us a comment. Tell us what you think. Follow our page on the Eli Network. But gentlemen, I just want to bring up a quick story that was circulating last week about White Sox manager Tony La Russa and then hitting a home run on a 3-0 pitch when they're up 15-4. I I've covered baseball for about 5 years, only at the high school level. So don't quote me on a pro stuff, but still, that applies universally to every level of baseball. Please stop with the unwritten rules. Let's write them down, or they're not rules. I'm tired of this unwritten rules baloney. Like, it's 3-0 pitch. He left it right over the heart of the plate. I would swing at that and hit it over the fence. Like, 15-4, that man has to try and get paid too. So he needs to pad his stat sheet. Like, this is ridiculous about unwritten rules. Like, who cares? You're down 15-4 anyway. It's not like you're going to come back unless you're playing the Mariners and you're Cleveland a bunch of years ago. But that's a different story. So stop with the unwritten rules. I'm tired of these unwritten rules. Either write them down or stop talking about them, because it's absolutely ridiculous. Like, there are no unwritten rules that are actual rules, because we write them down if they are rules. So let's stop with this unwritten rule stuff. Either of you want to comment, Sean, Kevin?
I will.
But Matt, it's just bad sportsmanship, even though he's getting paid 6 to 7 figures to hit that ball. Okay, it's bad sportsmanship. You should just let it go for the plate, so the game can end and the suffering, so they can go home and cry in a corner.
Yeah. See, that's the problem. Like, there's no taking a knee in baseball. If there was a taking a knee, that would be great. I would love that, to run the clock out and it's over. Like, let's get it over with. But there's not. So let's play the game out.
I don't want to swear in this podcast, but fuck Tony La Russa. like that dude, I'm surprised he's back in baseball, and he's coaching one of the the funnest teams there is too. Like, youngest, the whole face of what is it? What was the saying? Let the kids be kids or something like that. When Tim Anderson hit all his home runs, like, do your thing, man. I don't care. Like, Kevin's point's right. This is not high school. This is not college. The guy on the mound is paid to get people out. He threw a pitch. Do never be mad at the other guy for swinging at a pitch you threw in a Major League Baseball game and he hit it real far. Your job is not to let him hit it, no matter what the score is, and he hit it. At the end of the year, too, Mercedes' job will be judged on his numbers he puts up at the end of the year. He needs those numbers because he's going to, maybe get another contract. That guy's fighting for a roster spot. He's not, because he's 28 and never made their team. He's been basically a nobody. He's getting his crack to play. If he goes on a slump at the end of the year, that one home run, that one grand slam might be the difference of him getting a deal with another team or something. The offensive player is also paid to play baseball, and his numbers are affected by giving you a free out. You're not at the end of the year going oh yeah, well, Mitch Haniger gave up 4 free outs because the games were blowouts. So, we'll not close those. No, you just look at his overall numbers. You don't look at the circumstances. So I don't care what the circumstances is. If you throw a bad pitch and the guy hits it out, regardless of the score, count, or whatever, that's on you. That's on you.
Yeah. And bringing a position player to pitch, dude, what do you expect? What do you expect? We're not pitchers. We're not pitchers.
You're mad that a position player gave up runs? Okay, that's what's going to happen.
I can't remember how far back it was. It was 2018, 2019. I can't remember if it was Trout, but it was a big name. Someone was walking him, and the catcher was standing up, holding his thing to the side, and the pitcher didn't put it out far enough.
Miguel Cabrera in Baltimore. Yeah.
Yep. It's literally. And I was and people were like, "Why is he doing that? He's going to get on base." Because I was because home runs pay more.
And a guy went to the next base too. He moved up a runner that wouldn't have moved. So a guy got to third when he was only going to be on second. You threw a pitch and it wasn't far enough away. Deal with it.
Yeah. If you're the pitcher, it's your job that if you're going to walk a guy like that, I know they have the automatic walk thing now, but if your job is to walk him, put it to where he can't get it.
And yeah, Matthew, all the rules in baseball need to shut up. I want people pimping home runs. I want pitchers pimping strikeouts. I want you people telling people to suck it. Seriously, make baseball fun. Create villains. That's what people like. Baseball's dying. Baseball's dying for one reason. You can't watch baseball games because everything's blacked out. It's stupid. 2, you don't let them be players. You don't let them show personality. Let them show their personality. When you hit a home run, you cover your eye, Tatis, and tell Bauer what's up. Bauer, do your little walk after. Create villains, create rivalries.
Yeah, that's why the NFL allowed touchdown celebrations. That's why the NBA doesn't really care about that sort of stuff. I mean, NHL still has fights. So it's like,
Seriously,
what I love too is like when pitchers too, when they close out an inning, like on a strikeout and stuff, and they just like when they brought in
Swanson just struck out the inning in the 8th inning and then dropped a solid F-bomb like towards the Oakland A's. Like,
all right,
like
it was against Cleveland, I think on the Sunday game or Saturday game. They brought in Will Vest for literally one batter, and it was like 1, 2, 3 strike, and he was just like, "Fuck yeah!" Like he's just animated, just pumped, just like that's what you want to see because it's exciting. Like because everybody's like baseball's boring. Like I want to hear F bombs from pitchers just saying F yeah, just because literally he threw his best stuff. You couldn't hit off of it. Yeah. Like that's how it should be. Or if it's vice versa, be like you threw your best stuff and I just hit that ball out of the park, or I just hit a trickle on you. Like it should be like that. I mean, yes, there should be sportsmanship to where he's not just like getting up in the pitcher's face, be like, yeah, you suck. No, F bomb.
And Mercedes didn't hit his home run when he hit a grand slam, but again, the guy still threw a pitch and he hit it. Like that's his job.
Especially after what you've already mentioned, how hard this game is, that a lot of fans don't understand how hard it is to be up at this level. Like you should be excited, and it makes the game more entertaining, in my opinion, at least. But
yeah, absolutely, I would agree with that, Kevin. Like
we all agree.
Let's try and make it a little more entertaining. But let's move on to one last topic for the Seattle Mariners. A lot of Mariners on this episode. So I saw a tweet on
Kevin right
Friday.
there. Wilson just struck out the Oakland A's and he let them know about it after the game. The game just ended. Mariners won, and he let them know about it.
Yeah. So the Mariners won, just as an update on this podcast. But Jeff Passan on May 21st tweeted, the Seattle Mariners have at least one COVID positive. Sources tell ESPN there is concern within the organization that the relatively low level of vaccination within the clubhouse could be problematic. The Mariners, source said, are among the least vaccinated teams in MLB. And I've been looking at the injury report, and on May 23rd, Kendall Graveman was put on the IL with manager Scott Cervais confirmed Sunday that Graveman is on the COVID-19 injured list. Daniel Kramer of MLB.com reports. Also, shout out to my girlfriend Lauren, who actually told me that before I actually saw it on my phone. So shout out to Lauren. She's becoming a baseball fan. But yeah, so I just want to get your guys' thoughts, especially two people in the healthcare industry, what you think of this. Obviously, we're not going to get political in this sort of thing, but I do want to bring it up because, the pandemic is still ongoing. Obviously, it's, kind of winding down in a sense, but, it's still a prevalent thing in this country and in any sort of industry you're in. So I'll go ahead and start. I don't know why the Mariners would be one of the least vaccinated teams, but I feel like the Mariners should just offer incentives to the players to get vaccinated. Now, granted, I don't think they should need any incentives, but I think if you offer incentives, and even at the Mariners stadiums, they have vaccinated sections. They are vaccinating people in the stands as the games are happening. So, it seems a little weird that the Mariners are one of the least vaccinated teams, and obviously, it's your choice. And I don't really want to get into an argument about someone getting vaccinated. It's like, if you don't want to, fine, but it just seems odd that they're one of the least vaccinated teams, and maybe the organization can offer some sort of minor incentive, probably cash because people like money, just to get all their players vaccinated and not have to worry about this because, Texas is filling up their stadiums and who knows where you could get it at this point. So it would be nice if they got vaccinated, but at the same time, we can't make them. So hopefully this doesn't, keep occurring throughout the season. And, we've played about a month and almost 2 months. And for the most part, COVID hasn't been as bad of an issue as last year. That's because the pandemic was a lot worse last year, but it is maybe not panic button, but you're kind of looking at it going, that could be a problem down the road. So, Kevin, I'm going to throw it to you. What do you think?
Unfortunately, like there's not really anything out right now as to why they aren't. Like there's, to kind of specify it, there's no reasoning why they haven't gotten it. And they can't really say it's not available. You can literally go you just have to not be lazy. You can literally go to, there's plenty of pharmacies out there right now and health clinics and literally T-Mobile Field, like to where you can get your vaccine. As far as why they didn't get it, I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of people online that have gone like hate bashing them and stuff like that. And without like the certain information, I can't really be like, oh, they're pieces of crap because you don't, type of deal. I'm not going to go into that just because it's going too far without having enough information behind me to back it up. It is, I mean, it's a concern, of course, because one, you want to play. And honestly, you want to have your full, like, honestly, when you're a team member too, you think that you wouldn't want to let your team down by not being there, like you want to be on the field to help your team get wins. Like, so you would want to do anything possible to help that. But, everybody's got their own opinions on stuff. And, that's, who am I to say that they're, stupid for it and stuff like that. That's just, everybody has their own thing. You should try to be as healthy as you can. I'm going to say that too. Like, I think what the Mariners organization needs to do, for one, I'm going to also say good job Mariners for promoting to fans, not only the section, but also because they get special deals. I think they get like 15% off on all merchandise in the store, like all concessions and stuff like that. So good on the Mariners for doing that too, getting fans to entice fans to getting it, type of deal. But it's weird. Like, yeah, I'm just gonna put it at
that. Sean, what do you think?
I know that for a fact they had multiple doctors from the Seattle area come in and talk to them about COVID. So they know the severity of it. So they can't use that as an excuse. Again, like Kevin said, each individual person's different. So I don't know their circumstance. With that said, being in it, seeing it, please get your shot. It helps. It helps everybody. Helps my family in particular, both in the medical field. So I don't want to say like why an individual player didn't get it, but yeah, it's like Kevin said, like baseball is a billion-dollar sport. You better believe they had testing before a lot of like the general population had testing. They were testing like multiple times a week and everything like that. So they were probably first in line to get the vaccine if they wanted it. Like MLB will spend money to make sure their money keeps coming in, and they've had access for months and months and months to get this thing, and have chosen not to. So I don't know why I changed now, but like, it's disappointing. It's disappointing to see, but it's individual players. You don't even know who they are. Like you said, Kevin didn't get it, or the closer, Graveman didn't get it. We don't even know if he is the one who started it, got it, or has it been vaccinated. Because people who vaccinated still can get it. So we don't know even what that situation is. Probably not, because the odds are really low. But still, like, we don't know the individual situation. We don't know how it got into the club, into the bullpen. But yeah, it sucks. Please get your shot.
Yeah, and like Sean mentioned, sorry, Kevin, I'll let you go to you in a second. But the Yankees had a bunch of positives, and a lot of them were vaccinated. So, it's possible to get it and still be vaccinated. But vaccination is one of the safer routes to preventing spreading it and or getting it. So, it's not like a 100% immunity, but it certainly helps. Like Sean said, everyone. Kevin, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say too, what I've been telling people as well, like, people will hear stuff from like the CDC, and then they hear stuff from like a 36-year-old virgin that's 300 pounds sitting in their mom's basement on Facebook. Listen to a medical provider, like talk to your medical provider about whether, because there are some cases where like I've had patients who are immunocompromised and have certain other things that have been interested in it, but it's a risk to get it type of deal. So always ask a medical professional, doctor, pharmacist before you do it. Don't listen to the 36-year-old 350-pound version on Facebook. talk to the medical provider first.
I thought. I'm sorry I smiled during a serious topic, but Kevin was like, I
Yeah.
thought Kevin was about to be like, talk to your doctor about the vaccine today when one of those commercials
like,
that are
yeah,
about like, something random that we just do something.
And I hope
yeah.
that's really not the case because, like as Sean said, they have medical staffing there. But like I know, and that's why I'm not going to get too deep into it with political views and also just the crap that people see on Facebook. Like so many people think this stuff on Facebook we see is like the Bible on how you should run your life and stuff like that. Like especially when it comes to medical stuff, listen to a medical provider, not what's on Facebook. Or like even if like there's a dude dressed up in a costume on Facebook saying I'm a doctor, blah blah blah. Go talk to a doctor in person. Go talk to a pharmacist in person. And the Mariners clearly have that access, so it's like there's no reason for that not to be a deal. So that's where our concern is at. Is like they, as we know, they have medical doctors galore in the facility that they have probably preached the importance of the vaccine to them, but yet have not gotten it. So that's where the concern is. But there's still, unfortunately, a lack of information to where we can really bash them for it.
All right, so let us know what you think of all these topics about the unwritten rules, some of the COVID issues in the MLB. But let's move on. We got about 10 minutes left in the show. So Sean's nerd stat of the week is making a return, and he says he has a game for us. So Sean, what do you got?
Okay, so I try to make this as analytical as possible. I was listening to a podcast that played this game with multiple NFL head coaches on the podcast. So it's a big podcast. I will not tell you who failed this game on the podcast until the end. So I will ask both of you. You are down 14 points and you score a touchdown. What do you do? The rest of the game, like you have the rest of the game. What do you do? It's the fourth quarter. You score 14.
Okay, so fourth quarter. I was like, what quarter are we in? Because first quarter.
So implying that you'll get 2 scores. That's obviously we're not assuming that the other team scores, that you get the ball again and you come back down. What do you do? You're down 14. What do you do? Kevin, go first.
I would go, man. If you're down 14, you got to kind of, depends on if you trust your kicker or not, though. But with nowadays, with how kickers have been, I'd probably go for it. Just because kickers are super unreliable nowadays with the new ruling and stuff like that.
I mean, I would say it depends on my offense, but my instinct would be to kick it.
Kevin is correct by far. No, Matthew, you're absolutely incorrect. Absolutely incorrect. The numbers don't even get close. The person who got it wrong was Dan Campbell, the new Lions head coach, who even told the person on the podcast why it is wrong and still said he would kick the extra point. It is wrong, Matthew, because he knows, your percentage of getting an extra 2-point conversion is much higher, or is really high. It's above 50%, and above 50% is all you need. Because let's say you don't get it, well, then you can go for 2 the next time, and it's above 50%. So the numbers say you'll get it the next time. But if you get it the first time, you basically, again, this is assuming the other team doesn't score, and in this situation, you have to assume that because then it doesn't matter. None of this matters if the other team scores, anyways. You basically have won the game because Kevin said an extra point is super high percentage. So you don't need to even go for it. So the numbers clearly show, just simple math, say you go for 2. And why I bring this up is because it's a very simple analytic one. I just wanted a really quick one because we have some other football stuff to talk about. But when we talk about these guys, when we talk about analytics and we talk about NFL coaches know the correct reason. They know the correct play. This guy just got hired. They know what they should do, and he still said he wouldn't do it. So why are we giving all these NFL coaches like Pete Carroll the benefit of the doubt for everything they do when they know the correct answer and actively choose to go the other way? So let's hold our NFL people in charge to a higher standard or this correct standard. They know the math tells you one thing and they actively do the other.
I'll tell you why they do it. Because most likely they're going to lose the game no matter what, anywho. But because of the very below average intellect of NFL fans and ownership and stuff like that, they're going to blame the loss on the missed 2-point kick versus Like if he makes a field goal, be like, oh, well, we only lost by 7, but like you went for 2 and you missed, and then we were lost by 8, and it's like, well, yeah, you would have lost by 7, and now you lost by 8, like. But it would have been to where we could have tied it if we went down, but then we would have, and then, yeah, and then literally, then like the owner gets pressured by like all the fans who are just like, we want his head, type of deal. And then, yeah, so it's that stupid pressure of getting, even though he's going to get fired anywho, higher chances of getting fired quicker type of deal because fans are dumb.
The team who got it right was Baltimore.
So Sean, let me ask you, what is this based on? Because I feel like a lot of NFL coaches still think the extra point is at the 2. Would that change the analytics if the kick was still at the 2-yard line instead of 30-yard?
No, because it's the chance of getting the 2 points. It's not just a simple like it's one more point in the yards. It's actually like getting in that position to score. That's why like a touchdown technically in advanced metrics is actually worth more than 6. So like a field goal is worth 3, a touchdown is worth 6, but actually a touchdown is worth 3 times more than a field goal because it's getting to that certain area of the field is harder than otherwise. Like getting in that position is hard itself. That is a part of the equation that needs to be taken into account. And so you're very rarely in that position to go for 2 yards to get 2 points. And so that's why it's like the numbers is so high. The numbers is like 70 something percent. So you get 2 cracks at getting something 75% of the time. It's like 73 point something. You should get it one of those 2 times. You should probably get it 2 of those 2 times, but you don't need to is what the numbers say versus kicking both field goals. And then the numbers also say every time you're in overtime, it's a 50-50 shot of losing. So basically, what do you want? A 50-50 shot of winning or a 75% shot of winning? You say 75, you go for 2. That,
I mean, based on what you've said, like, why even kick an extra point at all?
that's, well, at certain times in the game, it's fine. Like in the middle of the game, it doesn't really like in this situation when you're at this point, it matters. But like first quarter, there's a lot of game, left to play. But yeah, most of the teams say you should be going for 2 more. Like that's kind of the point. But like, especially when they move the extra point back, like they're like, you should really go for 2 more. Like
because it puts the risk factor kind of in your. So for example, say it's like 7-7. The Seahawks go down and score, and now it's 13-7. If they kick the field goal and get to the 14, which is the high percentage, then the other team then, in order to take a lead, has to take the risk of the 2 points or time type of deal. Now, you should want the lead on them, but it puts the risk factor in your favor, and then I'm going to revert to what I just said 2 minutes ago with fans being dumb.
Basically, teams should go for 2 points more, but that's beside the point. It's again, we have numbers. 75 is greater than 50, and NFL coaches are like, no, 50, actively picking the 50.
Yeah, I also think it has to do a little bit with kickers because, kickers, I feel like historically can be relied upon. Now, I think recently
Hopefully it doesn't matter.
Well, yeah, no. But I'm saying like historically, like I feel like a kicker is a sure thing, especially when they were closer. But when I've covered high school, like a lot of teams went for 2 because they didn't have a kicker they trusted. So it's like, why bother
There's
kicking?
a difference between high school kickers and NFL kickers.
Yes, I understand that. But what I'm saying is the confidence in the kicker is also part of the equation here, especially based on the offense as well. I'm not saying like I'm a dumb NFL fan. I got it wrong, whatever. But, like there is a factor here of
it's not
trust in the kicker versus a trust in the offense and where you're at in the game.
I brought it up because it's not super common knowledge. That's why I wanted to like educate people. Like this is the test we're talking about when it's basic math. But I would say, Matthew, like an average, it doesn't matter in this situation, the kicker, because it's an extra point. It's not that far. Now we're not talking like a 50-yarder, like Kevin was saying. Like that's where kickers are better than others, and you can kind of grade kickers at that point. But an extra point kick across what we've seen now since in this time that there's been an extra point, the numbers really don't fluctuate that much from the great kickers to the bad kickers. Like extra points are usually in the same percentage. Like there's obviously a couple that make a little bit more, make a little bit less, but they're in the same, like usually one standard deviation from within each other. So like, yes, the same percentage for every kicker will be this spot. I would, 48-yard field goal in the rain. Yeah. Then the kicker, you could argue matters, but like in the general sense, they still don't matter. But like, yeah, they matter a little more. But
plus mid game too, like it's also going to depend on what your offense looks like. So say it's like a tied game and your quarterback is Mitchell Trubisky, like when you go for two, that kind of limits your options as to what you can do versus if your quarterback is.
I would actually do the opposite. If I have Mitchell Trubisky, I would go for it because I'm never going to get down there again.
That's true too.
That's what they say. That's what they say. Like if you have a bad offense and score a touchdown, you need to get two because the odds of you being back in that situation are really low.
But then it also kind of pulls your hand on the defense that you're probably going to run the ball.
But again, we even running when you have 2 yards to go and that stuff.
That's
like
true.
It's still you're still going to get it most of the time. So it just has to be above 50% to be efficient, and they always are.
I wonder if like Urban Meyer's going super analytical, he's just gonna go for two every time.
No, he drafted running back at the first round. He is definitely not going analytic heavy.
Hand the ball to your guy. It's 2 yards, right?
He drafted
Marshawn Lynch was at the one. Hand the ball, right?
In the first round. It's not analytics, is what he's doing.
They also showed their draft gradings like publicly too, so they just don't give it.
He drafted a running back in the third round and then said he's going to be a running back in the first round and then said he's going to be a third round running back. No, he is not analytic driven.
All right. Well, we are at an hour here, so let us know what you think of Sean's Nerd Stat of the Week. Go ahead and tweet us. I'm at Matt. Sean's at Sean Squiddy. Kevin's at Kev's Blue. The first team believes me at 3. Go ahead and subscribe to us on YouTube. Leave us a comment in the comments. Follow our page in the ELI Network. Tell us how much of a dumb NFL person I am for getting that question wrong. Like, let me have it, please. It would be great. It would be great. Exactly.
There's always hope. You literally got the same answer as the head coach of the Lions.
Yeah, so hire me, Lions. Like, come on. Like,
what's up?
Like, I think I could do better than him. So, Lions, if you maybe an assistant coach, like, I don't know.
Yeah, there you
go. I'm available. So
all your advice to me is just whisper in his ear, go for
2. That's probably what I do. Or I'd say
looking to eat their kneecaps. So.
All right. Well, that is all we have for this show. But next week, we are going to have JT back on the podcast. He was on our preview show in March. So please check us out next week because we did a lot of Mariners this week. But we're going to do a little bit more baseball next week with JT on the show and that being his area of expertise. So we will see you next week on Washington East to West Sports.